Hello everyone, ZooGirl here, and on this episode of Wild Files, I'm going to talk a little bit about animal differences, specifically turtles and tortoises. There's lots of animals in closely related families that are given different names. Why is that? Well, these animals do go by different names for a reason, even if they are cousins. Today, I'm going to teach you a bit about these differences so that on your next visit to the zoo, you can tell all your friends just how the animals got the names that they did. Take it from me. My friend Lockie the tortoise here just hates being called a turtle. So, let's get started. By far, the most common mistake I hear at the zoo about animals' names is about turtles and tortoises. Turtles and tortoises are very similar, so it's not surprising. They're both reptiles, so are cold-blooded and rely on the environment to control their body temperature. When it's time to have babies, they lay eggs. They both have shells to protect them from predators. Turtles and tortoises are sort of like twins that people mix up all the time. However, if you take a closer look, you'll see they're not as identical as they seem. Let's start with Mosley, Marsh, and Tilly. They are red-eared sliders, a common species of turtle. Depending on where you live, you may have even seen them at ponds or lakes around your house. They're also popular children's pets. And a little bit of trivia for you, red-eared sliders are actually the inspiration for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Fancy that. So, back to our turtles. I want you to notice a couple of things. First, take a look at their shells. Notice how they're very flat and smooth? Also check out their feet. See how their toes are fairly long and clawed and they have webbing in between their toes? Both a lightweight shell and flexible feet help the turtles to move about in the water. Let's go back to that handsome critter Lockie. He's a Hingeback Tortoise, a common reptile from Africa. Notice any differences from our turtle friends? Let's compare his shell first. It's not quite like the flat shells we saw before, is it? See how it's bumpier and thicker than the turtle shells? It's a much heavier form of protection. However, that weight does come with a price. By carrying around such a heavy shield from predators, tortoises are not great swimmers. In fact, if Lockie were to try to go swimming, he would likely sink to the bottom. Oh, and if you're curious about that odd mark on his shell, don't worry. It's from a past injury, but does not cause him any pain or discomfort. Now, since we checked out the turtle's feet, we might as well look at Lockie's. What do you know? Look at that. Where's the long toes? Where's the webbing? Well, since a tortoise isn't going to be spending any time in the water, he doesn't need them. Tortoises spend all of their time on land. Instead of the fancy flippers, tortoises have adapted to have blunt, club-shaped feet to support their heavy bodies as they move across the grass. These different adaptations allow these reptilian cousins to coexist without competing for food. You see, the terrestrial tortoises eat grasses, twigs, and small worms and insects. Turtles spend most of their time in the water and munch on aquatic plants, insects, and fish, so it's a win-win for both of them. Besides, turtles and tortoises can still be friends even though they're different. This is our Central American ornate wood turtle, El Gordo. Now, we're pretty sure she has some kind of romance going on with Lockie here. Even though they're different, it's these small differences that help their wild counterparts survive together in the wild. So there you have it, turtles and tortoises. Not quite as alike as you thought, huh? Be sure to stay tuned for the next episode of Wild Files. There's always more to learn when it comes to the animal kingdom. After all, it's a big world out there, and we should get to know our neighbors.